MT1138 here, and this is my Friday pickup video. Now, I would like to start off by apologizing. I had game hunting footage that I was going to put in here, but it just slowed everything down. And I took it out, and hopefully I can make this video move along a little faster, because the last 3 times I tried it, 4 times now I tried to do this, ended up being 20 minutes plus. So, Monday, I picked up a couple of things in Maple Heights at the thrift store out there. I forget what it's called. My little brother cleverly calls it the Hoodwill, even though it is not a Goodwill, and even though the area of the town that it's in is not terrible. A couple people have been shot there in the last couple of years, or actually in the last year, and it's the kind of place where you have guards at the front door of every store, and if you want to use the bathroom, you got to carry a stick this big with a key on the end of it that size. Not that I would go to the bathroom there anyway, but, you know, just to illustrate my point. Anyway, I went in, didn't see anything, went back by the videotapes, and I saw a couple of Super Nintendo games. Complete in the box. FIFA International Soccer, NHL 96, and then Turn and Burn No Fly Zone. But it turned out that there was nothing in Turn and Burn No Fly Zone. Well, that's not true. There wasn't nothing. Everything in here but the game. So I already have the game. When I got to the register, I told the lady at the register, hey, this doesn't have the game in it. Can I get this a little cheaper? She said, well, sure, we can do that. I thought she gave it to me for free. Upon further inspection on the receipt, she actually charged me 19 cents. These games were each $2.99. But on Mondays, everything in the store is 50% off. So I got these games for $1.50. And this I ended up getting for 9 cents. Then when I got home, I took and put my copy of Turn and Burn No Fly Zone in it. I don't have a little plastic thingamadookie that goes over it, but still. 3 complete Super Nintendo games for $3.09. I thought that was really cool, even though they are sports games, because you can't really even buy most loose sports games for $1.50. And I don't really care about collecting boxed games. It doesn't... Well, I'm looking at the video here, and that does seem ridiculous now that I see all of these complete boxed Genesis games, but I should clarify, I don't care about cardboard boxed games. I do like the way the Genesis and Master System clamshell cases look, and I do try and get as many games in the cases as I can, but cardboard box, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Atari 2600, I don't really care. I have some, but I only get them when they're super duper cheap. So, there you go. Now, I was, when I first got into the store, I went and I checked at the glass case in the front, and they had some games there. Nothing I was particularly interested in. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pick up dirt off of the thing here. I don't know where that came from, but it's gone now. I looked in the case. They had some games that I wasn't particularly interested in, but before I left, I decided to take one more look, and what I saw was this here. Just that much, because I couldn't get all the way up to the case. There were a couple of old ladies in my way, so I had to kind of go off to the side and look over the shoulder, and it's only because I was at that weird angle that I was kind of able to see this sitting here, because somebody had gotten it and hidden it behind something tall in the case, and then set something on top of it so you couldn't see it, and it was only the fact that I was looking at it from an extreme angle that I was even able to see that. So when I got to the counter, I asked the lady, hey, could I check out that blue handheld game console down there? And she brought up this. Now this is not a Game Boy Advance SP like I thought. It is a Nintendo DS, the first generation, and I turned it on and it worked. Now, it is not complete. It doesn't have the stylus, and it doesn't have a charger, but it uses a Game Boy Advance SP charger, and I have a few of those sitting around here. This was marked at $10.99, so I ended up getting it for $5.50. It's not something I really ever wanted, but for $5.50, I'm going to take it home every single time. And I've since been talking to a friend, and he explained to me that you can get a card to put in slot 1 that will allow you to do homebrew and emulation. Now, that to me is very interesting, because I would love to carry around a pocket full of emulators that I could play. Well, this is too big to fit in your pocket, but you know what I mean. Carry it around in my glove compartment so I could play emulated games. Then I wouldn't have to stick my Sega Dreamcast in there. So that would be really cool. And then it turned out they did, in fact, have a Game Boy SP in there. And like the DS, it's in good shape. Some minor scratches, but you expect that. And I turned it on. I'm trying to turn it on like the DS. I turned it on in the store, and it also worked. Now, what I didn't expect at first is that it had a game in it. And the game that came with it is Mario Kart Super Circuit. So this was marked at $6.99, and for $3.50 after the 50% off, I got a working Game Boy Advance SP and Mario Kart Super Circuit. Very cool. So yeah, that trip on Monday that I almost didn't do because I didn't want to take the time on lunch, for $13, I got 2 complete Super Nintendo games, a complete box minus the game, which I already had the game, for Turn and Burn No Fly Zone, and then, you know, a Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP and a Nintendo DS and Mario Kart Super Circuit. $13.01. Very cool. Now I got a big pickup, but I'm going to show that one last. I got a couple of Nintendo games here. I picked this first one up in Medina, Ohio at the Exchange, and it came with a little sleeve, and it came with a manual, and it is Impossible Mission 2. Now, honestly, I bought this because I like the way this looks. It looks very cool. I like the matte black finish. I like the giant arrow on the bottom, and then the picture on there is pretty neat looking. And it came with a cute little color manual here, and it's got a picture of a dude shoving a hooker out of the way while shooting at somebody. And I don't know if you can tell there, but they're presumably standing up straight. What is that building doing there? It's like all angled. Oops, I'm going the wrong way because it's reversed. It's all, I can't do it. It's angled going that way. So then I look down at the bottom, and there's an explosion. So somebody blew up the bottom of the building, and the whole building's falling now. There's a lot going on in that picture that you wouldn't normally notice unless you stop to take a look. So yeah, that was a couple bucks, and this thing weighs about twice as much as a regular Nintendo game. I don't know if it's worth a bunch of money, but for a couple bucks it looked cool, so I bought it. This next one I got at the, what is it, Stickman's Video Games in Ashland, Ohio. And I've been looking for this game for a while. Well, I'm looking for a few different games, but this particular game was recommended by Mike Matei, or however you pronounce the name. The dude that posts all the videos now on James Rolfe's channel, that guy. He did a top 10 most underrated Nintendo games, and his number one ended up being Guardian Legend, which was number one on one of my lists that I sent over for Game Man Dan. So I figured the guy had good taste. And he mentioned, I think at number 3, a game called Scat, which is a terrible name for a game. I would normally not have bought this game had somebody not recommended it. And it was also very cheap, and somebody wrote on it, and I couldn't get all the marker off. It's like burned into there. But the best way to describe this game is Contra with jetpacks. It really is that cool. I played this a little bit with my younger brother Jim the other day, and fantastic game. If you guys see this cheap, matter of fact, even if you see it, you know, marginally pricey, it's a really good game. Not like Contra good, but if you see it for like $7 or $8, I'd probably buy it. It's good. Now, this last pickup, it was something that I accidentally found on eBay. I wasn't even really looking for it. I just happened across it. And the buy it now price on it was ridiculously high, even for what it is. And he had an auction option on there. And I waited until the last second because I noticed that it had a reserve price on it. I waited until the last second, threw in my highest bid, and it never got up to my highest bid. So I'm not sure what the reserve was. But after the auction, about 10 minutes afterwards, I messaged the guy and said, hey, I bid X amount of dollars on this. Would you take that amount, including shipping? He said yes, posted it as a buy it now. I bought it, and it is a TurboExpress in the box. Now, the box is an absolutely horrid shape, but the system itself, as described on his listing, is in fantastic, used to be in fantastic shape. Now it probably doesn't work. Pardon me for abusing you, TurboGrafx. I was trying to take it out of here and I dropped it on the ground. Oh well. Let's see here if it still works. Well, it still comes on. I don't have a game in there, but well, here, let's put a game in here real quick. Still working. No sound, but we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, he described it as being in good cosmetic condition, and it really is. I mean, there are no marks or anything on this. There's some dust. It needs to be cleaned up. Some fingerprint marks on it from when my son was playing it. Cosmetically really good. He said the only issue with it was the sound was low out of the speaker, and then he specifically mentioned that the sound was great out of the headphone jack. Well, the sound is non-existent on the speaker, no matter how loud you turn it. And when I initially listened to the audio through a headphone jack, I didn't think it worked either. I had to put a few different games in it, and eventually I found a game that was loud enough that I could hear something, even turned all the way up. So, yeah, he did not accurately describe it. Then, I mean, I'll mention some other things. It came with an official NEC TurboExpress AC adapter, and that was how I first tested it. I plugged it in, I put Bonk's Adventure in, and then well, no, more specifically, my wife snatched it out of my hand and played it a little bit. And she discovered that if you bump the power supply where it's plugged in, it resets. And sure enough, if you move it around, it's very, very touchy. The jack there is jacked up, for lack of a better term. I'm going to have to get in there and solder it and fix it. Then just a whole host of issues, nothing major, but there's a couple dead pixels. Then the screen ghosts really bad, and I don't know if my definition of screen ghosting is the same as everybody else's, but for me, you have a new image pops up on the screen, but for a few seconds you can still see the old image, or for a brief period of time you can still see the old image. It's doing that, and it was pretty noticeable. And I'm not overly concerned about that because I've had that problem with a few of these that I've repaired, and there's one capacitor, you replace it and it works fine. But anyway, it was not as described, and it had a lot more issues than the guy said it did. I was a little upset about that. I mean, I wasn't mean or anything, but I expressed in a message, hey, you told me that this was, this, and it's actually that. And he sent me back a message, said, I'm really sorry. If you want me to give you a refund or if you want to ship it back to me, whatever you want to do, that's fine. And I said, well, I really don't want to pay to ship it back to you, but let me take it apart and look and see how bad it is. If it's something that I don't think I can easily fix, then yes, I'll probably ship it back to you. Within 10, 15 minutes, he sent me another message saying, you know what? I was on a website. There's somebody that'll do a complete cap replacement for X amount of dollars, and if you'd like, I'll refund that to you now. He offered. I was not going to refuse. I said, absolutely. So I ended up getting this for half as much as I originally paid for it, and $5 worth of capacitors will fix this. I've even got them sitting in my toolbox already. So I will end up doing the repairs on this. I won't replace every capacitor because I'm one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of people. I don't want to take a chance that I'll screw something up by replacing it, so I only replace what I absolutely have to. If anybody out there wants to see the video on this, there's a lot of videos on YouTube already on doing cap replacements on this, but I will say that I do my sound fix a little bit different from some because, not to get too detailed, but the capacitor that's in here for the sound, or the capacitors in here for the sound, are really, really small. And when you go to buy one at Radio Shack or an electronics store, it's much larger, very difficult to fit into here. And I relocated to a completely different part of the machine, and I don't know, it's a little bit different. It works a lot easier, believe me. If anybody's interested, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just do the repair myself, not shoot a video, and screw the rest of you. Who cares? So, there you go. This is what I got. Now, I did not buy this because I wanted a second TurboExpress or because I wanted to sell it to make money, although I will sell it to recoup what I paid for it. I bought it because it had games. It had some games that I have loose, but they came complete. And just for the record, no, they did not come with a box, but when they have the CD case, or when they have the jewel case, the game, the sleeve, and the manual, I call that complete. So for you purists out there, no, it doesn't have the cardboard box. I'm calling this complete. Anyway, it had some games that I have loose, complete, so I'll be able to switch out my loose games for the complete ones. And then it had several games that I don't have at all. So that is the reason I bought this. And I'll show you what they are real quick. I got a loose Bonk's Adventure. I already have Bonk's Adventure. Can't talk. Still a little sinusy. I already have Bonk's Adventure complete, at least my version of complete. So this one will get paired up with that when I resell it. I got Keith Courage and Alpha Zone complete. Vigilante complete. Blazing Lasers complete. Legendary Axe and Legendary Axe 2 complete. And all of those are games that I have loose. I will exchange them out for the complete games and then sell my loose games with that. I think you get the idea now. Now, I have several games here that I did not have at all. Two of them are loose. Bloody Wolf, which is, it's like a top, well, kind of top down, like a 3/4 view, walk around and shoot things. The controls are really weird. I haven't gotten used to them yet. The jumping is really odd. But you run and jump and shoot people, and you go into buildings and shoot more people. Pretty neat game so far. I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but definitely looks fun. A really good game, side-scrolling shoot-'em-up called Aero Blasters, and I played a game very similar to this. I believe it was on the Super Nintendo. I don't think it was called Aero Blasters, but I could be wrong. Cool game. Then I got some complete games, my version of complete, that I did not have before. The ever-popular King of Casinos. Almost as popular Pac-Land, which it turns out my daughter is a whiz at this game. I think it's terrible because the controls are so awkward. You hit button 1 to go backwards, button 2 to go forwards, and then any direction on the control pad is jump. It's really hard to get used to. My daughter's good at it, though. A game called Bravo Man, which is, I don't even know how to describe that one. You play as a guy. I played it for like 5 minutes, but you run and jump. It's like Mega Man with bionic arms, I guess. Um, Ninja Spirit, like a Ninja Gaiden clone. Pretty fun though. And then the main reason I wanted this, Fantasy Zone for the TurboGrafx 16. Now, those of you that have been watching my channel for a while now, you'll know that I love Fantasy Zone. It was one of the first games I had on my Sega Master System when I was a kid, and I love it to this day. And I've since gotten, Fantasy Zone for the NES, and Fantasy Zone 2, and Fantasy Zone the Maze, and I need to get, I forget, Super Fantasy Zone, I think, for the Genesis. I really want that one. But so far, this is my favorite version of Fantasy Zone, and it pains me to say that because I love the Sega Master System version. It's the one that I have the strongest memories of. This is really good. I know I'm a Sega fanboy, particularly of the Master System, and I shouldn't be saying that, but it's true. It is really good. So, I don't know, lessons to be learned here? Don't be afraid to contact eBay sellers for an item that's ended and offer them money that you don't think they'll accept, because sometimes they do. If you get something and it's not as described on eBay, talk to the person. Don't be mean. Don't be a jerk. Definitely don't demand money back, but just explain to them, hey, this is not the way you described it. And most of the sellers on there are going to be willing to work through it for you. I was really probably looking just to send it back to him if he was going to pay for it, maybe offer to buy the game separately, but he made me an offer that I was not going to be stupid enough to refuse. So there you go, 2 lessons. I don't know, third lesson might be buy Scat, because even though it sounds like a terrible game, it's good. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you Tuesday, unless I see you before. Thanks.